So I think now is a good time to start diving into the what happened of it all. Because when it comes to the 2026 NHL trade deadline, we did see a number of names move, but definitely not the amount of names that we had thought we were going to see. Not to mention the fact that the quality of the guys that we saw get moved at the trade deadline was a little bit underwhelming. Aside from the fact that John Carlson ended up moving, we didn't see any trades for Jordan Binnington. Sergei Bobrovsky stayed in Florida. And then when it comes to these other St. Louis guys, yes, it's true, Justin Falk ended up getting traded. And yes, it's true, Brayden Schenn got moved as well. But Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou are still St. Louis Blues. With that in mind, we have ourselves some updates from Elliotte Friedman that dive into what may have actually gone down in regards to the Robert Thomas trade sweepstakes. Now, if you take a look at the St. Louis Blues and their overall point production this season, you can see that a lot of guys on this team did not end up getting moved. But the guys that did were not necessarily the top guys. Robert Thomas leads the Blues with 40 points in 46 games played. Not a bad point-per-game clip, honestly. Jordan Kyrou has 34 points in 53 games. He's still on St. Louis. Justin Falk, half a point a game. Brayden Schenn, under half a point a game. And then you have everybody else that follows on the team. Brayden Schenn, of course, the captain, got sent over to the New York Islanders. That's a really interesting transaction. The fact that we had seen, 3 NHL captains get traded this year is quite remarkable, between Quinn Hughes, Brayden Schenn, and somebody remind me what's the other one? It was Nick Foligno from Chicago over to Minnie. But Robert Thomas was arguably the best trade chip the St. Louis Blues had or have, and he'll continue to be a trade chip as long as this team is bad, too. 26 years old, 6 feet, 207, right-handed center right wing. A guy signed on till the end of 2031, making $8.125 million a year. That's a pretty long-term deal, honestly. And even though Robert Thomas is playing on a bad St. Louis team, he still has been a point-per-game plus-ish guy the past few years. 81 points in 70 games is really strong, and he was over a point per game in St. Louis's first-round series playoff defeat. There's a reason why this guy is valuable. There's a reason why teams wanted this guy. But there also is a reason why he did not get traded, and that was talked about by Elliotte Friedman on the Fan Hockey Show earlier this morning. Elliotte says he had heard Robert Thomas never fully denied a trade, but he did indicate there were certain situations he wouldn't want to go to. The Buffalo trade came close. St. Louis and Utah seriously talked about a trade. Utah thought the price was too high. St. Louis felt Utah did not put their best prospects in said offer. So all of a sudden, this becomes a question of, hey, are you willing to pay the price that we have set for our guy? And then the other team is like, well, you guys set too high of a price, so no, we're not going to do that. The Sabres trade talk going as far as it did for Robert Thomas obviously is an interesting point, because we did see Colton Parayko, Team Canada's Colton Parayko, also get linked to a move to the Buffalo Sabres, although Parayko straight up rejected the idea of going to Buffalo, even though that trade was leaked, even though it was already finalized, even though we saw the return. We knew what was going to happen there had Parayko said yes. Robert Thomas, on the other hand, you take a look at his situation on Puckpedia.com. Robert Thomas does have a no-trade clause, so if he were to get traded, he would have to sign off on it. But based off the way Friedman is talking about it, it doesn't seem like Robert Thomas was really denying a trade to go anywhere. Yes, there were certain situations, but you take a look at the wagon that is the Buffalo Sabres, it's like, I think he'd probably want to go there. Just considering the atmosphere and the hype and how they have been the best team in the NHL as of late. Plus the fact that Robert Thomas is from Ontario, super close to Buffalo. 26 years old, this is a guy that's playing in the prime of his career, and you think about former St. Louis and Buffalo ties that have actually worked out really well. I'm thinking about the Tage Thompsons of the world, the Ryan O'Reillys, what could have been the Colton Paraychos. There's definitely an interest between players and their futures if they share the St. Louis Blues and the Buffalo Sabres. But let's go out there and actually take a look at what that could have looked like. I mean, this is the Sabres as it stands right now. Lots of scoring, lots to like out of everybody. They had just acquired Sam Carrick, who ended up scoring a goal in that crazy Mortal Kombat game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. But really, the fact that all these guys are capable players, it makes it difficult to remove any one of them from the lineup. I mean, having Robert Thomas on the first line with Thompson and Tuck would be super cool. You could have a triple T line, a Thomas, Thompson, Tuck, the TTT. But you have to move somebody else out there too. If you slide everybody down one, and then you move Benson over to the right, scratch back Malenstein, for example, not that I think that that's a good idea, but that might be the way to go de facto, is it not? I like Beck Malenstein as much as the next guy. He's from here, where I'm from, and he also plays a very aggressive, hard-to-play-against style, so we all respect players who grind and work hard at the NHL level, but there are limited spots if you were to add on a Robert Thomas. For the Utah Mammoth's sake, you could say that Thomas would be a top-tier presence on this team. Him and Clayton Keller together would be so good. And if you move everybody down one, Cooley to line 3, Schmaltz to line 2, or you just kind of keep Cooley in the top 6 because he is young, there certainly can be some nice center depth in Utah. But if they just didn't think that the price was worth it for a guy like Robert Thomas, then I guess that's their loss after all, right? Also, thinking about the prospects, Utah did not put their best prospects in the offer. Well, let's go out there and take a look at the Utah Mammoth and their draft history. Because the Mammoth do have a number of guys that I think are pretty strong. Caleb Desnoyers, 4th overall last year, really great player out of the Moncton Wildcats. TJ Ginla, there were already conversations about whether or not he'd be included in the Mackenzie Weegar deal. That did not happen. Tej going over to play for Calgary would have been an amazing feat. I think a lot of Flames fans would have wanted to see that. He's been torching the WHL this season, double point per game guy. That's amazing. Caleb Desnoyers, on the other hand, 71 points, 40 games in the QMJHL this season. Yeah, what an absolute stud. It checks out. He's very, very good. But Utah was not interested in trading any of these guys, it seemed, much less for a guy like Robert Thomas. I will say, though, long-term, Robert Thomas is good, but I do think that Iginla and Desnoyers project to be better. Maybe if Desnoyers is like Robert Thomas, but just a little bit more, you're probably satisfied with that draft pick. Of course, you want everybody taken near the top of the draft to be an absolute elite, game-changing, first-line caliber kind of guy, but sometimes that doesn't happen. So both of these guys, I'd say, do project better, but nothing is guaranteed in the draft prospect world, right? With that said, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about these rejected trade talks between Robert Thomas and the Utah Mammoth and Buffalo Sabres? There were options for this guy, but it just seemed like the price was a little too much. Thoughts in the comment section below about Elliotte Friedman's analysis and info. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.